trial, and when we have a trial, generally after the fact, we'll speak to our supervisors and then get their opinions about our work that we did. And I remember after my first trial, so it was only a few months into the office, and my supervisor said, "You should," and it happened to be a conviction on a domestic violence case, but the supervisor said, "Well, here's some constructive criticism. You should be more aggressive in court. You should be banging on the tables and, making a spectacle of yourself." And my response to him was that I'm not you, and you are a man, you're white, you're of a certain age. I am, at the time, a 25-year-old, fairly petite Asian female prosecutor. And if anything, that will certainly be off-putting, and I may not have even gotten the conviction on this TV case that, was a fairly serious case. So I keep that with me, and I actually, it's something I've thought about several times since then, but I told him, that's your courtroom persona, but that's not going to work for me. I have to recognize who I am and be true to myself, but also recognize that a lot of what goes into being on trial is the perception of the jury. And so I told him that I had dubbed my courtroom persona the earnest barrister, because that's what worked for me. So that's a way in which just an example of how obviously my ethnicity and my gender had to be taken into account in order to be successful in that situation. Because I really think the result might have been different if I had taken that advice and beaten on tables, and it wasn't what was right for that particular trial, and it certainly wasn't what was right for me. So
it is an interesting issue, because I think in any job that you have, particularly as an attorney, actually it doesn't really matter for any job, develop your own brand, so to speak, and letting people develop your persona, your professional persona, is very important. And so that's tough. So let me ask you, Sabrina, how do you go about developing your brand? What have you had to deal with, and what's your journey been?
I think one thing that I take a lot of pride in, and it kind of goes, I'm going to steal a quote from Conan O'Brien. He goes, "If you work really hard and you're kind, amazing things will happen." And for me, it's always been really important to be nice to people as best I can. And so sometimes it's bad because you become doormat, or people take advantage. But for the most part, I feel that it has been really good for me, and I feel good about it, and I think people respond well to it, because that's just easier for me. It's my nature, and I think if I were to, take the advice of, your bureau chief, and be sterner and harder and draw a hard line and grow a pair, it just wouldn't work, because it's not natural, and I think people can see that. So I think as I've gotten older, I've been more accepting